Welcome to the deep dive. You've brought us a really interesting set of texts this time. Chapters 11 through 17, dialogues between a student monk and a master monk. Looks like they're by a river, sometimes in a temple.
That's right. And they cover a lot of ground strength, dealing with, life's curveballs, change, patience. They seem separate at first glance, but they're really woven together.
Definitely. So our mission today is to kind of pull out the key wisdom here, how to build that inner strength, handle uncertainty, maybe even embrace change, find some peace. And we're tailoring this for someone who wants to get this knowledge, like quickly but deeply, without feeling buried in information.
Yeah, exactly. Getting the essence efficiently.
Okay, let's jump in. Chapter 11 starts with the student monk rethinking strength. It's not just about being invulnerable, right?
Right. The master monk jumps straight in and flips that idea. He says true strength isn't about hiding vulnerabilities. It's about having the courage to embrace them.
Which honestly can sound a bit risky. We're always told, project confidence, hide weakness. So isn't that kind of dangerous?
That's the immediate question, isn't it? And the student monk feels that too. But the master monk argues that, well, acknowledging those wounds is what actually allows healing and growth. He uses that image, the river shaping stones. Our challenges, our vulnerabilities, they refine us.
Okay, so it's like the difficulties aren't something to just block out, but something that shapes who we become.
Precisely. And it's not about being hard like a wall. He talks about the paradox, strength, and softness, like the river.
How it flows around things.
Yeah, it doesn't just try to smash through obstacles. That flexibility, that's a kind of deep resilience. And for our listener wanting to get this quickly but thoroughly, the point is really feeling the pain, transforming it. That's the pathway to growth, not just pushing it down.
But the student monk brings up a valid fear. What if people take advantage?
Yeah.
What if you open up and just get hurt? That's a real concern.
It absolutely is. And the master monk doesn't dismiss it. But he argues vulnerability is the bedrock of real connection. It builds trust. And crucially, he says if someone reacts negatively to your openness, that's often about their issues, not your weakness.
That's a helpful reframe. It takes the blame off yourself a bit.
It does. And then there's that analogy of the tree carving, the hidden roots.
Oh, right. I like that one.
It suggests our vulnerabilities, the parts we hide, are actually what connect us. They hold shared wisdom. The master monk even admits he struggled with this too. Feared showing weakness, but found transformation by facing his own pain.
Wow. Knowing even a master monk went through that makes it feel more human, more achievable.
Yeah. So the takeaway isn't just be vulnerable, it's that sharing struggles can actually be healing for everyone involved and build deeper bonds.
So the student monk gets it in the end. That vulnerability is courage.
Exactly. He sees it as the foundation of resilience, not its opposite.
Okay, moving to chapter 12. The focus shifts. The student monk is worried, am I on the right path? Am I wasting time? That hits close to home for a lot of us, I think.
Oh, absolutely. That need for certainty, the fear of, messing up. The master monk's first response is quite gentle. He basically says the path is almost never straight. Trust that every step, even the detours, leads somewhere important.
That sounds nice, but when you feel lost, how do you actually trust something you can't control? It feels unsettling.
He goes back to nature again, the river. It just flows, doesn't force its way, doesn't seem to worry. It gets where it's going by adapting.
So the idea is to move with life, not fight it.
Yes. And for someone trying to avoid overwhelm, that's key. It's about finding a more harmonious way, less resistance.
But what about failure? The student monk worries about getting lost, about failing. We put so much pressure on ourselves.
And the master monk reframes that too. Does the river fail when it hits a rock?
No, it just goes around it.
Right. It finds another way. Life offers the same chances, but it requires patience. Trust grows with patience. Patience with ourselves, patience with the process.
Okay, so it's okay not to know everything right now.
Yep.
Trust that it unfolds. That fits with getting knowledge without overwhelm. You don't need it all at once.
Exactly. Life reveals things in time. He even calls uncertainty a gift.
A gift? How so?
Because surrendering to it, letting go of that need to know everything, can be incredibly freeing. And the key practice, being present, focus on now, that cuts down future anxiety.
Yeah, makes sense. Worrying about later steals from the present. And he mentions letting go of expectations.
Yeah, releasing that tight grip on how things should be allows you to actually live in the moment.
So the journey itself is the point, not just getting somewhere specific.
That's the essence of it. Experience the process.
Okay, chapter 13. Now the student monk feels change happening inside him, and it makes him uncertain. We've all been there.
That feeling of shifting ground beneath your feet, The master monk's message is really direct here. Change is life. Don't fight it. Embrace it.
But what about losing yourself? That fear that change will erase who you are, that feels pretty fundamental.
It does. But the master monk reassures him. Your essence remains. Your form evolves, but the core stays. He uses the river again, never the same water, but always the river, right?
Right. Okay, I see that. Your core self endures.
And he points to the seasons, the trees. They cycle through change. There's a purpose, a natural rhythm to trust. For someone seeking growth, this is crucial. Change isn't the enemy, it's the engine of evolution.
So it's not loss, it's transformation.
Yeah,
like the caterpillar and butterfly analogy he uses.
Exactly. Becoming a fuller version of yourself, not losing the old one entirely. Change lets you unfold.
But then there's the challenge of letting go, releasing old stuff to make space. That's hard.
It is hard, and the student monk naturally asks about regret. What if I let go and wish I hadn't?
Yeah, that what if again.
The master monk links regret to attachment. Clinging to the past, letting go, he says, is freedom. It creates space for what's meant to come next.
So trusting the process of change, even when it's uncomfortable, leads you where you need to go.
That's the underlying trust, yes.
Then in chapter 14, despite all this wisdom, the student monk is still wrestling with control. It's relatable. These aren't easy fixes.
No, they're practices, ongoing. And this chapter dives into surrender, but not surrender as in giving up. It's acceptance. Accepting what is without fighting it, flowing with the current.
Okay, but does that mean you just become passive, let everything wash over you, lose your drive?
That's the common misunderstanding, and the master monk addresses it directly. Surrender isn't about abandoning effort or goals. It's about letting go of the need to control the outcome.
Okay. The outcome.
Yes, you can still act, work hard, but you release that desperate grip on exactly how things must turn out. You accept the uncontrollable parts. For someone trying to avoid overwhelm, this is huge. Acceptance reduces that internal friction, that constant battling.
Right, because trying to control everything is overwhelming. It's exhausting.
And the student monk worries, naturally, will I become complacent, lose my ambition?
If I just accept everything.
But the master monk clarifies, it's about detaching from the result, not the action. You act intentionally, just without the anxiety tied to a specific outcome.
Acting with intention, but without that desperate need. That sounds peaceful, actually.
Exactly. Surrender creates the space for peace by stopping the fight against life's flow. Acceptance frees you from that burden of constant struggle.
And it circles back to being present, trusting the unfolding.
It does. The final point is powerful. True freedom comes not from control, but from the strength to accept and trust. That's surrender.
Chapter 15. Now it's about time. The student monk feels slow, comparing himself to others. Very modern anxiety.
Definitely. That pressure to keep up, the feeling of being behind. And the master monk's answer is simple, but deep. Patience. He brings back the river, talks about a seed. Things grow at their own pace.
Easy to say, harder to feel when you're frustrated with your own posts. Right?
Of course. But the master monk suggests real growth has its own timing, linked to what we need to learn. Rushing, it just leads to, well, frustration and maybe superficial results. He paints this picture of a garden, of trees growing slowly, developing deep roots. That's where real strength comes from.
So it connects back to wanting thorough understanding. You can't rush deep roots.
Okay.
But how do you know when to act versus when to wait patiently? That's the tricky part.
He points towards inner awareness, being present. He suggests there's a quiet knowing, like an intuition, that arises when you're really tuned in, not forcing it intellectually.
Trusting that inner sense. That takes practice.
It does, and he talks about the paradox of patience. Even while waiting, if you're fully present, life is still unfolding. You're not resisting the wait.
So patience isn't just doing nothing, it's active presence.
Exactly. It's finding peace in the present, whatever it holds.
The key takeaway seems to be finding peace in the now, trusting your own timing. Life's not a race.
Precisely. Finding peace within the process itself.
Okay, chapter 16 brings us back to change. The student monk feels uncertain again. It shows these lessons need revisiting.
Definitely. It's not linear learning. The master monk doubles down. Change is the only constant, and it's a powerful teacher. It leads to transformation. Back to the river flow with obstacles. Don't just fight them.
But what about changes we don't want? The difficult, uncomfortable ones.
That's a key point. The master monk suggests even those changes have a purpose. They offer growth. He says discomfort is often where wisdom is planted, and he uses the cocoon metaphor.
Our cocoon, right.
That tight, seemingly limiting space. It's essential for the transformation. Something new is forming underneath, unseen.
That's a powerful image. What feels like restriction is actually necessary development.
Yes. And relating it to learning changes the process of becoming, of unfolding your potential. It's constant,
But the fear of the unknown is still there for the student monk.
understandably. Stepping into the new, the master monk suggests that fear comes from feeling disconnected. The advice: trust life's guidance. Let go of needing to map out every single step. Trust the flow.
So again, it's about releasing that tight control.
And recognizing that fear of change often comes from being too attached to how things were. The call is to be present, welcome what's next.
Right. Be here now.
hmm
And finally, chapter 17, the gift of patience. The student monk has a breakthrough. He sees his own impatience causes suffering.
Yeah, a moment of real insight for him. And the master monk deepens the definition of patience. It's not just waiting passively, it's active presence, trusting the timing. He calls it wisdom in waiting.
Okay, but how do you tell patience apart from, say, just avoiding action, putting things off?
Good question. The master monk clarifies. Patience involves the right timing of action, like a farmer. They don't plant or harvest randomly. They understand the cycles, act when the time is right.
Ah, okay. It's informed waiting, knowing the rhythm, not just inaction.
Exactly. And back to the tree, slow, steady growth, deep roots equal strength, which links to mindful progress. Focus on your own growth, not comparing timelines.
But the student monk asks, okay, how do I cultivate patience when I feel restless, agitated?
That's the practical question. The master monk uses another lovely image. Tend your heart like a garden. This means cultivate awareness of your feelings. Use your breath to calm yourself. Consciously practice letting go of control.
So awareness, breathing, letting go.
And being present. Presence is the key to dissolving impatience. Patience isn't forced. It grows naturally from that presence and trust.
Makes sense. And the final wisdom.
Patience is the soil where wisdom grows. The journey, the waiting, the learning, that is the reward.
Wow. So putting it all together, this deep dive through these chapters shows this amazing tapestry, doesn't it? Strength through vulnerability, trusting the path.
Embracing change. Finding peace and acceptance and surrender. The wisdom of patience. It all connects.
They really flow into each other.
And for you listening, remember, these aren't just like nice ideas. They're active ways to navigate life. Tools for growth, for deeper understanding.
So as you think about this, maybe consider which of these ideas clicks with you right now, where you are in life, what you're working toward,
Yeah, which one feels most relevant?
and maybe a final thought to mull over. What if you tried embracing just one of these? Maybe acknowledging one vulnerability, or trusting one uncertain situation a bit more, or practicing just a little more patience with something.
How might that small shift change your perspective on a current challenge? Something to explore, definitely.